Alright, so first things first, I did the trans brake and bump buttons in the last video. I rewired the factory steering wheel buttons for brake and then bump over here. So I took the truck out to test it today and make sure the brake and bump is actually working. Everything's working good. I'll put a little video in here. So I bumped the truck about 5 times. So the first 2 bumps, you can see it kind of go forward and rock a little bit. And that was with my foot off the brake pedal. And then the last like 3 bumps, I think it is, I had my foot just slightly on the brake pedal. And then I bumped it forward like 3 more times and it didn't rock. So seems like it works pretty well. I'm using the 16 Hertz and 33%. And I did test it like 5 times and I went all the way up to like 170 degree transmission temperature and it didn't seem like it changed it. So not bad. Next video, I'll be starting to work on this thing. I did get my intercooler core in. So this is a Vibrant 22 by 10 by 4 inch core with Vibrant end tanks. And it fits in there pretty well. But the rest of this video, I'm gonna be rescaling the tune. So I already did that before I went to go drive it today. I put the 4-bar map sensor in there and rescaled it from the 2.5 bar to the 4 bar, and just kind of, that's why I was out driving today. I just want to make sure everything was still dialed in and make some other tweaks. So I'm basically just showing how I'm rescaling it from the 2.5 bar to the 4 bar without throwing everything off too bad. But take these numbers with a grain of salt. Every setup's going to be different, so don't like try to copy the timing numbers and all this other stuff. But this is what my setup looks like right now. All right, so I recently changed my setup from the LS9 2.5 bar to a 4 bar, and this is the sensor that I'm using. This is a Matt Happel recommendation. So he did a lot of the legwork already in testing all this stuff and getting this rate scaling, so I'll show the scaling quick. So this is how I have mine set up, and I did test before and after the switch with key on, engine off, what the map sensor reading was, and this scaling reads exactly the same as I had it set up before with the engine off. So that's kind of what I'm starting with. But because I changed the sensor, all of the scaling changed. So you can see this one on my old file reads up to 26. And then this one here now reads up to 46, but none of the data inside the tables changed. So I got to rescale all this stuff because 24 PSI here is 20 degrees when my old file, 24 PSI was 17 right here. So all of the numbers are shifted. Some spots are off by like 3 or 4 degrees, where now it's putting 3 or 4 extra degrees into it. So what I'm going to do is rescale all that stuff. Also going to rescale the fueling because this goes up to 26 again, but none of the fueling changed. So if I go over to the new file, it goes up to 46, but still has all the same fueling data. So if you don't make any changes, it's going to have more timing and less fuel everywhere. And because the scaling on the fuel table changed, the scaling on the target air-fuel ratio also changed. So on the old file, 21 PSI is commanding an 11.8, where here now the 21 PSI would be commanding like a 12.3, 12.4. So want to fix all that stuff before I go drive it so I don't hurt anything. So how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to copy certain lines in critical areas, I guess, from the old file over to the new one. But what I also did with the new one is I set this up so they're all even numbers. So 0 down to -14, they're all even, and then it just goes in 2 PSI increments all the way up. So they're nice and even, don't have decimal points. And peak of the sensor was like 46.4 or something, so I just put it at 46. So I'll do the idle area first, 0 PSI. And I'll find the one basically closest to 0. And I'm going to copy that line. And I'm going to go over here and paste it into the new one. So there it pulled about 10 degrees out of it. So if I undo that change, yeah, right here was at 34 degrees. Basically wide open throttle, 0 vacuum. If I didn't change any of the scaling, it would have had 34 degrees in it. So I'll paste that back in there, and now it's at around 24 there, so that should be better. So then I'm just going to continue to go through that. So we'll do -2, copy, -2 paste, so then maybe I'll skip some spots. So I'll go to -6, and this is about where I'm cruising right here. Copy, -6, paste that in. So now what I can do in between here, this area didn't really change, but what I'll do is I'll go between these two rows, and then I'll do fill columns, and then I'll just fill those in. So I'll grab the -10 row, paste that over to the 10. I think I'll grab from like here to here and then fill that. Right, so now I'll do the same going up from 0. So I'll grab the 2 PSI row, paste that into the 2, and let's see how much it pulls out here. So this is 32 degrees down to 23. So if I would have just went out and drove it and hammered on it, it would have had an extra 10 degrees of timing in it in that spot. So I'll grab the 6 row, copy, 6, I'll grab 10, slap that in the 10. So you can also see that there's like less resolution now because it's a higher range. So going from 6 here was like 4 rows, and going 6 to 10 here now is only 2 rows. So we'll grab like 10 to, let's go 16. And we'll go to 20. That one's at 27. So I think what I'll do, because I never really went that high before, so what I'll do is I'll probably paste that into like the 28 row. And now what I'll do is I'll fill every other one of these. So I'll go from the 28 to the 26. Fill column. Fill 2 to 6. I'll fill 6 to 10. I just have to make sure I'm actually filling the right one, so I'm not kind of undoing it. So then I'm just going to fill all the way through here. So then from this area up is kind of territory that I've never really been into before. So then I think maybe we'll do 10 at 40. Maybe we'll do like 8 at 46. I have no idea what to even put in these numbers. I've never ran more than like 26, 28 pounds before. So we will be in uncharted territory for me. So I'm just going to fill these. I'll maybe do like 6 here. I'm going to fill this. Fill row. And then I'm going to fill columns from here to here. So that should be pretty close. I'll just double check everything is good, but that's essentially what I'm doing for all that. So I'll go through and go ahead and do the fuel now and see what that looks like after. And I'll also add that if you're wondering about this little step right here, I did this intentionally just to keep it out of the peak torque area on the shift drop. So this is like the 6,000 RPM cutoff. So essentially when I launch it, it's coming up through the boost curve around this area. So it has the timing in it. But then when it's in boost making a pass, it's like above this area the whole time. It's above 6,000 the whole time. But if it were to accidentally, for some reason, drop below 6,000 on a shift drop or something else like that, I intentionally stepped this down just to keep the shift drops less harsh. So did that with the stock bottom end stuff, and I'm still doing it on this even though it's a forged bottom end, just because I'm never below that RPM during the whole pass anyway. So if it's ever in this RPM range at 30 pounds of boost, that's not really where I want it to be. So I put this little step here on purpose just to keep the torque out of it on a shift drop. So that's there on purpose if you're wondering. Okay, so should have everything all saved. I did also change the file name to 4-bar scaled because I have an old file with it not scaled. So I made sure I changed the name and the date. And 10 pounds, 20 degrees, 20 pounds is around mid-18s. 24 or 26 pounds is in the 16, 17 range. 30 is at 14. So I feel okay about that. Fuel. You can see I'm starting to run out of injector at this higher RPM 32, 34 pound range. So I'll just have to be aware of that. I don't think I ever plan to run the truck much more than that, but we'll see how that goes. I would like to maybe tickle 30 once just to say I did it. But so this is all redone here. I want to see what this line is. Looks like there's a line that's not done. So -2 to -6. Did I just not fill that one, or yeah, maybe I didn't fill that one. So I'll go ahead and do that quick. Looks a little bit better. That's still in vacuum yet, so I'm not too worried about that. I can adjust that if needed when I get some drive time on it. Target air fuel ratio, also rescaled this stuff. I cruise with it at around 15. So 14.5 is at idle, 13 starting to roll into it. And then in boost at 12.5 up until about 10, it's at 12.2. And then 11.8 when it crosses 20 pounds, 11.4 at 30. And then just richened it up above that, but I won't have the fuel for it anyway, so that doesn't really matter at this point. So that's where I'm at. I'll save it and load this thing up and then go drive it.